Michel. And this one is a miniature solo cooperative campaign game that's set in the historical monastery of St. Michael just before the French Revolution. And the way that this game works is that players are going to be playing as various cats, trying to rid the area of the villainous rats. Campaigns can be played over a series of scenarios where the successes and failures and decisions of the players are going to be dictating what happens further down in the scenario. But all of this is going to be played directly in the scenario booklet, which is going to make setting up the game really, really quick. And it'll also outline any goals or any specific rules for that given scenario. The way the game actually plays is through a series of rounds where the players are going to have an activation phase and then the enemy rats are going to have an activation phase. But which of those phases actually comes first can vary from round to round. Each player is going to have a set amount of action points that they'll be able to spend on their turn, and you're going to be using those to explore the different locations out on the board, investigate different points of interest, and even attack enemies and complete various skill checks. What's neat about this game is the way that the movement works, because you actually have 3 different ways that you can move. This is all based on the grid of spaces on the map, which is actually broken into a bunch of bigger areas, each made up of smaller spaces that players will be able to move through. You can either use a movement point to move into an adjacent small space, or you can use one of your more powerful movements in order to move to any small space within the area that you're currently in. Or if you're on the edge of that bigger area, you can do the same movement to move into any small space in the larger area adjacent to you. Alternatively, you can actually spend 2 action points to perform your pounce, which actually allows you to move 2 big areas away and then also issue an attack if you end your movement adjacent to an enemy. When you do attack, you're going to be taking your character's gear and stats and adding that together, and then also rolling a d12 and then comparing it against the enemy's stats. If you didn't roll exactly what you needed, there's also some special cases and items that you can use in order to re-roll your dice, and the same system applies to any skill checks that you'll be performing throughout the game as well. Each scenario is going to have a bunch of different objectives that it's going to have you trying to complete, and players are going to be using their different actions in order to try and meet those objectives. And between the scenarios, players have the opportunity to rest and also spend any resources or experience points that they've gained in order to upgrade their gear or upgrade their character. The game continues like this as players play through the overarching campaign, and if this one does sound interesting to you, you can find a link to it in the description below, and you might want to follow along to get a free coin added to your pledge.